Okay, so today I'm going to be reviewing this book, Wundersmith, The Calling of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This is book number 2 in the Nevermore series, book number 2, and I'm really excited to be reviewing this book for you guys. So today I'm doing a spoiler-free and spoiler review, so what that means is in the first half, I'm going to talk spoiler-free with you guys. I'm going to give you 3 spoiler-free pros, 3 spoiler-free cons, as well as a premise, my star rating, all that kind of stuff, and then I'm going to jump into the spoiler section because boy, do I have a lot to say. So let's start with the good old statistics. Wundersmith is book 2 in the Nevermore series, written by Jessica Townsend. It is a middle grade fantasy book, and it is a half tome, but it's really close to being a tome. So for those of you who don't know, a tome is a book that is 500 pages or more. This book gets incredibly close to that, but not enough, so we have to default back to it being a half tome. Book 1, which is Nevermore, revolves around this girl on the cover, Morrigan Crow, who is born on a day that just so happens to be cursed. She and everyone else born on that day find out that they're going to die on their, I believe, 11th birthday, and roundabout close to an hour before she's going to die, a man shows up at her house by the name of Jupiter, who is full of a lot of whimsy and wonder, and he asks her, "Do you want to die?" And she says, "Well, no." But before she can continue on with her sentence, Jupiter says, "Well then why should you?" And he takes her away with him to his magically whimsy wondrous land of Nevermore, where Morrigan needs to do some things to remain there. I just loved book 1. I gobbled it up so fast, but I had so many other things that I needed to read before I could get to book number 2, but I finally got to book number 2, and you know what, you guys? It was fantastic. My first spoiler-free con for this book would have to be what I'm going to refer to as stifling world building. Now, what I mean by this is when you have a moment in a book that would really, in normal circumstances, allow the author to really expand on their world and world building, and then the author decides to make a choice that stifles them from being able to expand upon that world, at least in one particular way over another, and in this case, Jessica Townsend did that. My second spoiler-free con for this book would have to be how Morrigan accesses her magic. And we get to a point where Morrigan learns how to summon her magic. I'm not going to say how that happens because that would be a spoiler, but I will say that it is unoriginally done, and that did let me down a little bit. And my third and final spoiler-free con for this book would have to be that this book unfortunately did not break the Suzanne Collins curse. Now, for those of you who don't know, I am starting to coin a phrase here on my booktube channel referred to as the Suzanne Collins curse. This is a curse where you have caught lightning in a bottle, at least with your first book, and then somewhere after your first book within the series, you decide to grab that lightning you've caught in a bottle, smash it on the floor, and throw away the pieces. Generally speaking, when this occurs, I get really moody, really upset, I take it out of my star ratings, and the book ends up getting a really low rating because why I fell in love with book 1 was not necessarily carried over into book 2 or subsequent books after book 1. That is the case with Wundersmith. My first spoiler-free pro for Wundersmith by Jessica Townsend would have to be that she maintains the whimsy and wonder of book 1. It is the whimsy and wonder that we experience in book 2 is on par with how it was in book 1. I still felt very much swept away into this world that is Nevermore. I was just having so much fun and was just lost in this world, and was wide-eyed looking around at everything and just enjoying this wondrous, pun intended, experience, my second spoiler-free pro would have to be the character growth of our protagonist, Morrigan Crow. This was done incredibly well. Not only the character growth that Morrigan Crow has experienced from the beginning of book 1 all the way through to the end of book 2, but even the character growth that Morrigan Crow experienced from the beginning of book 2 to the end of book 2. And my third and final spoiler-free pro for this book would have to be the die for each other friendship trope explored in this book. It's been a couple of months since I've read book 1, so I don't remember the specifics of the die for each other trope from book 1, but I definitely remember them from this one because I only just finished reading it recently. We have two characters in this book who you can tell their friendship is so strong that they would literally die for each other. And that is Morrigan Crow and Hawthorne. I don't remember his last name, but it is just fantastic to see these two supporting each other. So now we are going to move on to the spoiler section. As I said earlier, I gave this book 5 stars. And so, let's head over there now. Spoiler, 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 I'm talking spoilers, you have been warned. Okay, so let's jump right in, shall we? Starting off with that first con that I had in the spoiler-free section, which was the stifling of the world building. Now I can talk about it, yay! So, I'm referring here specifically to Morrigan's reduced timetable at school. The fact that we have this headmistress that I don't remember her name, who comes on the train and talks to the wonderful Miss Cheery, who I so adequately named. I love her. So she speaks to Miss Cheery and says, "Oh, no, 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 no. This is completely wrong. No, Morrigan is only going to do one subject, I think. Yes, just one." And Morrigan just ends up being enrolled in this one class, which is all about how horrible Wundersmiths are. I understand for the sake of the plot why this happened. I get it. The teachers are scared of Wundersmiths, so they don't want Morrigan accessing her powers or learning more about her powers because she could go absolutely mad like Ezra Squall and some of the others and just cause havoc in Nevermore. So I understand that. But I'm zooming out of the plot and looking at it for the sake of judging the writing and the world-building aspects of this book. So it's hard for me to not go back to Harry Potter because a lot of people compare and contrast the Nevermore series to the Harry Potter series, and I completely understand why. For one reason, they're both at a school trying to hone their craft. It took a while to say, hone their craft. And with what was so wonderful with the Harry Potter books is that Harry has a full timetable where we learn so many different things from so many different classes. Morrigan had so many different classes that she was going to learn in, thanks to Miss Cheery making her timetable, and then with the principal giving her like one class that she can learn the entire time, it really stifles the world building experience and we don't get to learn more about the school that she's learning in. All we get to learn about is the Tortoise 1, Mr. Onstall. And that's fine, but it was just incredibly stifling. Morrigan finds it boring. I found that class boring, but my point was I wanted to know more about the classes that are on offer, and I didn't get that opportunity because she's only allowed to learn one class. Now, granted, we do get to a point where she gets to learn her second class, which is Mapping of Nevermore, which I really did appreciate that she got to do that one because at least we got to see another class. But by the time we get to the end of the book, we realize why she had to do Mapping with Nevermore. It was all about the teacher, right? So we had to learn about the teacher. Morrigan had to really get to know this teacher, and there's no way she would have gotten to know him without doing the class. So it then makes me think, oh, well, that's more of a plot convenience that she's in that class. So it did let me down. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that the way that this book ended will mean that in Hollowpox, book number 3, that Morrigan will get to experience a full timetable and we will be so much more opened up to the world buildings. How Morrigan goes about accessing her magic, singing, really singing. Jessica Townsend, we need to talk. I love this book, but no, it's one of those moments where you're really, really enjoying something and then all of a sudden a decision is made and you just go, no, why, no, more, Jessica Townsend, no. Look, I have no problem with singing. In fact, I grew up having a passion to sing. I was part of multiple choirs. I studied music, performance, and theory in high school. I love singing. I sing all the time. But singing, when it comes to any type of accessing or using magic, is something that I don't like. I've seen it done a number of times, and the singing in order to access magic trope is not one that I've ever seen done well, and I felt the same with this book and the way that Morrigan accesses her magic. Now, granted, Jessica Townsend is writing a middle grade book, so maybe a really young child would love that it's singing, where I've read some YA and adult fantasy books that have to do with singing that didn't make sense, but I don't know, I just feel like there's so many other things she could have done in this really whimsy and wondrous place like Nevermore. The Suzanne Collins curse with book number 2. So in book number 1, The Trials of Morrigan Crow, it is literally about Morrigan going through those trials, as we know, so she can remain in the Wondrous Society, which will in turn allow her to remain in Nevermore. I really loved the whole trial aspect of the book. That is what was dropped in the second book. So we didn't really lose the world building, but the formula for book number 1, which was going through all those trials, we lost that. Now, what I meant by being able to advance it a step further is maybe they could have something like, I don't know, in some Harry Potter year levels, you have end of year exams. Maybe they can have something like graduating trials, where if you want to stay the next year, you got to keep, you got to do a trial at the end of every year, or the end of every 2 years, or something like that. Look, I don't know. For all I know, it's going to appear in the third book that there'll be a trial, and I'll just say, remember when I said that in my review, and I just got like I was completely off by it, but anyway, still as much whimsy and wonder, and absolutely there is. I can't help but think back to that room, the smoke room, where they can just put this smoke into the air that does all these different things, like helps to calm you, relax you, make you focus more, whatever it is. Oh my gosh, I want to go into this smoke room and just experience all the different types of things. I want to eat all the different types of foods. I want to experience that vampire dude doing his show. I want to listen to that Arya woman. I'm sorry I don't remember her name. I'm bad with side character names, but her, I want to hear her sing a song. I clearly don't want to hear the angels sing because clearly that's going to cause issues, but I want to hear the Arya woman sing. I want to stay at the Deucalion and just get involved in all the events that they have. I want to grab an umbrella and go on one of the lines and just experience that as well. Everything about Nevermore is so fantastical, which is amazing. Morrigan's character growth. I am referring to where things were with her at the beginning of the book to where they were at the end of the book. Now, I spoke about obstacles that Jessica Townsend chose to put in her way, which is what made her grow throughout the book, that I really appreciated. The biggest one, naturally, being having Jupiter out the way. Now, I understand that Jupiter was off looking for all the beings that had been captured. I get that. But I also feel that it was a plot convenience in order to assist Morrigan Crow's growth. Now, the best thing about this is that I did not think that at all while I was reading the book. I'm only thinking it now that I'm no longer reading the book and that I'm going back and thinking back with a critical mind over everything that I read. It's still a 5-star book, but that's what makes it so amazing. When you read the book, you're so caught up in the whimsy and the wonder and every single thing that's going on that, at least for me, I felt like I couldn't zone out and look at it from an objective perspective because I was so lost within the world. But I really did appreciate her choice, Jessica Townsend's choice, to have Jupiter leave. I love Jupiter. I wish Jupiter and Fenestra could be in every single scene because I love Jupiter's whimsy and wondrous nature, and I just love the snootiness of Fenestra. I just think both of them together are just amazing, but I get it. Morrigan had to fend for herself. Willing to die for each other friendship trope between Hawthorne and Morrigan. This is the way friendships should be written. Now, I am a huge lover of the Harry Potter series, but one of my biggest issues with that series were the issues between the threesome friendship of Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Little things here and there that, aside from trust and communication, that wouldn't be there for a split second, fractures the friendship, doesn't occur in this book between Morrigan Crow and Hawthorne. And I really, really appreciated that. We don't need characters to have dynamics by having a fractured friendship. The best thing you can do is have a fast, willing to jump in front of a bullet for each other friendship in a book. And Jessica Townsend did that so well. Regardless of what Morrigan Crow was going through, Hawthorne was standing up for her. I even knew, like ages before, don't worry Morrigan, Hawthorne's got your back. No matter what, we know Hawthorne's going to stand up for you. At least you've got Hawthorne. Hawthorne will be there. And that continued throughout the entire book, which is what has you trusting in that friendship, because he's done nothing to break that. Even for the Hallows holiday or whatever it was, yes, Hawthorne was running late, but he was still there. I think there might have been a point, I might be wrong, but I think there might have been a point where Morrigan was thinking maybe Hawthorne's not coming, but I knew Hawthorne was going to be there. Come hook or come crook, he was going to be there. And if he couldn't be there, he was going to contact her to let her know he wasn't going to be there. That is how much of a great friendship they have. He doesn't care that the pigs, which is what they call it in the book, the pigs have set this law. He's going to be there anyway. And he did. The law was set in place for this curfew. He was still there. I'm so happy I read Nevermore. So happy I read Wundersmith, and cannot wait to get on to Hollowpox in July. But that is where I am going to leave it for this book review. If you've read it, let me know what your thoughts were in the comments section below. But in the meantime, letting you guys go, peace, blessings, and so much love. I post videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I'll see you again soon. Mwah! Thank you so much for watching, and happy reading!